Welcome to 5 Minutes in the Word, a daily devotional in the Word of God.
Mr. Gary, here recently, just got back from camp, and I've noticed that, especially with our young ladies here at Sawwell, they're in the youth group, they have a presence, not only among the rest of the members of the youth group, but also the entire congregation. And I think we can credit that to really our older generations. In Titus, in Titus chapter 2, in which he's being told what exactly to teach. It kind of hits on that, doesn't he?
It really does, and you're right. Older men and women set the stage for how a church is going to act and react. And we've got some really good older women here. And
I agree.
I think they probably have read this. If they haven't read it, they're sure doing it. I'll put it that way. Because, of course, in verse 4 of Titus chapter 2, Paul says regarding the older women that they admonish the young women to love their husbands and to love their children. And the word admonish there literally means to restore to their senses, which is kind of an odd word in one sense. But the point is, the world throws a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah.
And the older women can help the young women maintain a balance and be able to go forward. And then, of course, he says, love your husband, love your children. Why would you have to teach it? Well, in our society, theoretically, that would not be as necessary.
Yeah.
But in that society, it was often the case that mom and dad made a contract, and this girl knew who her husband would be when she was 2 years old. And so she really needed to develop a warm affection for her husband. And then the children born to the union between her and that husband, she would also need to develop a warm affection for them.
Yeah.
And so the older women would teach them how to do that. Then he goes on and really starts into a series that sounds a lot like what we've already heard for the older men and the older women. Discreet, that would be the unique word perhaps here. Because the way it's expressed here, it just means self-control.
Yeah.
No, we saw that with the old men. We saw that with the older women. Now the young women have got to learn the same thing. And then chaste is purity. I don't think that word's used for any of the others in this group. Homemakers, and boy, that involves so much more than what we normally think of. It's not just to cook the meal, wash the dishes, get the clothes washed. It's not just that. In Proverbs 31, I think you've talked about that before. It's just full of things, that a woman can do as a homemaker.
I think in like that's that one phrase. The ESV, the English Standard Version, says "working at home."
Yeah.
I think in a lot of regards, and I'm speaking for myself when I say, like, in a lot of times if something's out of order at home, I'm completely oblivious to it. But my wife has a keen eye in catching it. And when she catches it, she makes sure that it's fixed really quick. Whether that is I'm stepping out of line and she doesn't like it, she snaps her fingers and I'm back in check, or the dogs, because we ain't got kids, or the dogs are acting up. She's quick to catch that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She's always good about making sure that everything's in order, and she keeps the house in check.
Yeah.
Not only the things you mentioned, but also in that regard as well.
Oh yeah. In fact, when I walk up to a woman I don't know, and I'm trying to get familiar with who she is and what she's about, I'll say, do you work in addition to working in the home? Do you work outside the home? Because really, it's an insult to say, well, do you work anywhere? Well, yeah. If I'm a wife, I work somewhere. I mean, or if I've got children, I work, no doubt about it. Well, then he goes on and uses the word good. And that word could be just translated kind, which we all need to be, of course. Obedient is likely in reference to their husbands. It reminds us a little bit of like Ephesians 5:22, which is the number one passage.
Yeah.
Every guy about to get married wants me to use.
Yep.
However, I always say, well, I don't mind using that if you read the rest of it, because you're supposed to be willing to die for her.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're willing to die for her, she probably doesn't have any problem with following what you say.
Yeah.
Because you're looking out for her best interests. So that's that word. And notice it's to their own husbands, not everybody else's husband.
Yeah.
and then he kind of closes that thought about the women, young women, being taught with that the word of God may not be blasphemed. And I wonder if we don't all need to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I'm doing causing God, his people, his son, his word to be spoken against? And I sure want to avoid that if I can.
I agree.